What's going on, guys? Isaiah or /24 here, back with another guide here today in Shadow of the Colossus, one of the free games this month for PS Plus. In this particular guide, I'll be going over Colossi number 4 to number 6, once again on hard mode. We are continuing our Shadow of the Colossus week sort of theme going on, and starting out here with our 4th Colossus, we have the trophy Land of the Gravestones, which is to defeat the 4th Colossus, whose name is Phaedra. This particular Colossus, you have your horse this time around, but you're not actually going to need that, really. What you need to do at the start of this fight is to take out your bow and get the attention of the Colossus. You're going to want to sort of lure it into this open field area. You'll see a bunch of little hills, and they have sort of entrances in each of the 4 of them. What you need to do is, like I said, take out your bow, just keep the attention of the Colossus and bait it into this field area. Make sure you're constantly throwing in some arrows there just to sort of lure it towards you. What you need to do for this Colossus is, in order to actually get onto the back of it to actually do damage, you need to have it sort of do this particular animation, so the entire fight sort of is a little RNG dependent. But you're going to want to sort of lure it into one of the entrances of this underground section. You do that by, like I said, just shooting a bunch of arrows at it. Once it gets nice and close to one of those 4 entrances to the underground section, you're going to put away your bow, run into the underground section, and then you're going to want to go to the entrance to the opposite of whatever one you came in. It doesn't actually matter what one you do. For this one, you saw the entrance that I went into there at the start. And then once the Colossus was close to that entrance, I just ran to the opposite side. And then from there, you kind of have to just wait. It took me about 30 or 40 seconds on this particular try for the Colossus. What the Colossus is eventually going to do is, once it loses track of you after a certain period of time, it'll do this animation where it sort of peeks down into the entrance to see where you are. And when it does that, you'll have the opportunity then to actually jump onto the tail of the Colossus and then actually get onto its back and start doing damage. So it kind of depends on whether or not it'll do that animation. But as long as you are sort of constantly hitting it with arrows and luring into that one of the entrances of the underground area, it will just happen after a certain period of time. Obviously, the faster the better, so if you can get it there more quickly, that'll obviously help you save some time and make the actual fight itself go a lot easier. But once you're able to jump onto the tail, after it does that sort of dip down animation, there are then 3 weak points you're going to need to weak points, I should say, you're going to need to take out. There's 1 each on both the left side and its right side shoulders, sort of near its front legs. So you're going to want to just kind of climb down there, take out those 2 weak points. This Colossus is going to move quite a fair amount, so you just gotta kind of take it slow. As long as you get the first part of it, the actual like baiting it into doing that animation part, as long as you get that relatively quickly in the first couple of minutes, the rest of the fight is definitely a lot easier and pretty straightforward. The 2 weak points on its shoulders, they don't actually require a lot of hits. They both are only about 15% of the boss's health. The head weak point is about 70%, I'm pretty sure. So after you take out the first shoulder weak point, you're then going to just go back, recover your stamina, then you can work your way down to the opposing shoulder weak point. And then once you do that, there will be a little bit of a minor weak point that you need to hit in order for the Colossus to do an animation where it'll bow its head. And that'll allow you to jump over its neck onto its head and take out that final weak point. So yeah, I'll just kind of let this play. Like I said, yesterday and today we have a couple new videos for Shadow of the Colossus, and I plan on doing guides on all 16 bosses in the game over the course of this week. I'm not going to be home this week as I'm doing some play testing at a game developer here in Canada for the entire week, so I'm kind of pre-recording some of these at the start of the month, so that I have some content for you guys while I am gone. There's also no more CSGO operations, so I do need something to upload on the channel, and so I figured some Shadow of the Colossus videos would fit right in with my channel. I previously uploaded a bunch of PS Plus trophy guides for Journey and for Abzu, a couple previous free games a couple years back for PS Plus, and I think Shadow of the Colossus is another one that there is a great opportunity to do some guides, and I really enjoy the game personally. I actually played it when it came out. I got it on launch back in 2018, so I'm definitely looking forward to revisiting it on hard mode, time attack, and making some content for it. But aside from that, like I said, you do the little, the minor weak point, hit that with your sword. That'll allow you to get onto the Colossus's head. And then from there, just a matter of doing enough damage. You still have more than enough time to reach that goal time of 6 minutes and 15 seconds. And once you start putting in some work on the head of the Colossus, it isn't really going to be able to throw you off that much. You can do a pretty consistent interval of sword attacks. That'll cancel some of the animations the Colossus might do to try and throw you off. And that'll allow the final head weak point to go much quicker. So just a couple more hits left here. Then that'll be the end of our 4th Colossus, Phaedra. Once again here on hard mode time attack. Alright guys, moving on now here to our next Colossus, Colossus number 5, which is called Riding the Wind. This is our first of the aerial Colossi, but this one in particular is relatively easy compared to some of the other aerial fights. You're going to start out here on a big pillar, and you're going to jump down into this lake. What you need to do is swim out. You're going to see a group of 3 platforms just peeking over the top of the water. And what you're going to want to do is swim out towards these platforms, and then particularly stand on the middle platform. It does take a bit of time to get out there to the platform, but this fight is very easy, so it's not too much trouble. So swim out to that middle platform, then you're going to take out your bow and shoot one arrow at the Colossus. This will get the Colossus' attention, and he'll do this dive down swoop attack move. All you need to do at that point is time a jump, as you saw there. Jump and then grab at the right time, and then you'll be able to land on the wing of the Colossus. And then from there the fight will actually start. If you end up falling off of this Colossus, you're probably going to have to restart because you will not have enough time to beat the entire thing. But in terms of the actual weak points, there's one on the very end of the tail of the Colossus, and then one weak point on each of the wings, so a total of 3 weak points. The Colossus is going to move around quite a fair bit during this fight. But once you have an opportunity where the Colossus sort of flattens and levels out, you can then just kind of run towards the end of the Colossus, and then at the very end of its tail there is the first weak point. Thankfully, the weak points all take a lot of damage. They only really require like 2 or 3 sword attacks. So there isn't really much of an opportunity for the Colossus to throw you off while you're hitting this tail weak point. The other 2 weak points, though, which are on both of the ends of the wings, those are a little bit more tricky. Due to the fact that, as you'll see here, when you hit the weak points, the Colossus will do a barrel roll move. So you're going to want to make sure you have full stamina going into the each of the wing weak points. So you can kind of just rest here towards the upper back shoulder areas of the Colossus. And then once there's an opportunity where the Colossus is not turning, as you see here, he does these sort of gradual turns every once in a while. But eventually he'll stop doing those, and he'll stop flapping his wings as well. So once he sort of levels out and flattens out and stops flapping his wings, then you can run towards one of the wing weak points. And then, like I said, the second part of that is kind of when you hit it with your first sword attack, you kind of have to wait out the barrel roll move. So as you see here, he levels out, I run towards the left wing, get in my first sword attack, and then he's going to immediately do an upside down barrel roll move, so make sure you're grabbing on this entire time. But he'll sort of, and then after that he'll sort of then kind of go back to his usual posture. And then you can get in your second sword attack. It only takes 2 sword attacks per wing weak point. So although you have a relatively small grip meter for this fight, you have more than enough grip to last the entire barrel roll move and to get in your second sword attack. Similarly, move down then to the right wing, do the same thing, hit it with your first sword attack, he'll do his little barrel roll move, and then once he sort of levels out here, after doing so, you can do your second and final sword attack. So that is our 5th Colossus, Avion. A pretty cool, unique fight, but compared to some of the later fights, definitely one of the more easier ones. As long as you don't fall off during the wing sections, pretty straightforward. Alright guys, moving on to our last Colossus of today's guide, the 6th Colossus for the trophy Tomb of the Giant. This Colossus is called Barba, and at the very start, he's going to be very aggressive towards you. You're going to want to run immediately the opposite direction and scale this wall here. You're going to do this about 3 or 4 more times as the Colossus chases you. The sort of opening sequence of this fight will have the Colossus running after you. So you're going to want to scale that wall. He will break the wall and a little cutscene will play. But that's the only time you're going to see that cutscene for this fight. You have 2 other walls to scale over. But basically just don't look behind you because he'll be like very close to you. And just, you'll hear an audio cue when he breaks that wall. So as you see here, I jump over the second wall, he breaks it. Jump over the third wall, he'll break that as well. And they're going to hide in this sort of alcove area. Once you're able to get over the 3 walls, the rest of this fight's pretty straightforward. You're going to hide in this little alcove area and then whistle or shoot an arrow to get his attention. You then have a way where he'll sort of bend down to sort of inspect where the whistling is coming from. And then from there, that will actually give you an opportunity to jump onto the Colossus and go after the weak points. The first weak point you're going to want to go after is on the top of his right hand. So when he bends down, his beard will be something you could jump onto, but then also his, not his right hand, excuse me, his left hand. You're going to want to go for the left hand weak point first, since that one is sort of isolated and by itself. He'll do a lot of moves to try and throw you off, but the weak point on the left hand only really requires a few hits, so it's pretty short and pretty easy. Just kind of ride it out, hold on while he's trying to throw you off, and then when his hand is in a stationary position, you can then get in your sword attacks. From there, what you're going to want to do is just the same way you got on him the first time around. As you'll see here coming up after I finish off with the hand, you're going to let go of the hand, run back towards that little alcove, and then do the same technique in order to get onto him a second time. I'm not sure if you can actually get onto him from the hand, but it's just a lot easier and a lot more consistent if you then jump off of the hand after you're done with that weak point. And then the second time around, instead of jumping onto the hand, you're going to jump onto his beard. His beard will sort of like dip down, and you can then jump onto his beard and get the last 2 weak points. He has one on top of his head, as usual. And then also another weak point on sort of the lower part of his like back. But thankfully he has a nice bushy beard for you to jump onto here. And then you can just kind of work your way up that beard and scale up towards his head. You have 6 minutes for this fight, which is pretty generous. This is one of the more shorter fights in the entire game, I would say. The only really difficult part is when you're actually on him. He does do quite a fair bit of moving and trying to throw you off. But in terms of actually getting onto the Colossus, relative to some of the other Colossi in the game, this one's definitely a lot easier. I find that actually being on the Colossus for most of these bosses is probably the easier part, and usually the harder part is actually just getting onto the Colossus. So this one is it sort of falls in line with that, where getting onto the Colossus is a little bit easier than actually killing it itself, so that's kind of a nice little change of pace. Once you take out that head weak point, he's really going to start throwing you around because he's very upset at this point. But then he has just a third and final weak point on its sort of lower back on the left side. You're going to want to make sure you have full stamina for this weak point, as he is going to try and throw you off quite a fair bit. And there isn't really a ledge or other area for you to recover stamina. So as you see here, I started actually going down towards that weak point, but then I was at about half stamina. So I decided to just play it conservatively, go back up onto the shoulders, and recover my stamina to full. Like I said, you have 6 minutes for this Colossus, so plenty of additional time. I'm only at 4 minutes right now where I'm at. So once you get down there, and once you have full stamina, you can make your way down to the lower back weak point. He's going to be moving quite a fair bit, but as long as you start off with the hand and with the head, the lower back won't really have a lot of health remaining. So you can just kind of chip away at that. You'll have more than enough stamina and more than enough time for this third and final weak point. And once you take that out, that will be the 6th Colossus of Shadow of the Colossus and our last one of today's video. So with that said, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Be sure to stay tuned throughout this entire week, like I mentioned previously, for some more Shadow of the Colossus guides. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys soon.